Path of Exile has had a huge range of interesting spells in the past to choose from, but with major changes every league, some go forgotten and become less used over time. One of these glorious spells of the past was Dark Pact, but it has decreased in popularity in the past couple of years. Even though there was no direct buffs to Dark Pact spell itself, there were several small buffs to everything that serves the unique playstyle for Dark Pact over the last few patches. In this Dark Pact on Skeleton Wanderer build guide, we'll explore every possible way to automate the casting of Dark Pact with wand attacks. We repeat small damage as many times as possible for achieving maximum major damage. We will go through gear choices, all gem sockets, and the smart passive tree for maximum efficiency. I wanted to call this build originally Cast of Blinking as a metaphor for the multiple casts of spells we do per second. In a blink of an eye, your screen is full of Dark Pact casts, minions, explosions, and chain reactions all at once. Instead, I called it Dark Pact on Skeleton Wanderer, as it utilizes skeletons and wands in Path of Exile. Assassin is a must for cast on critical builds to compensate for lower critical strike chance on the Poet's Pen. Assassin is also a good class for power charges scaling, so we take all 3 power charge nodes on the tree in addition to the extra one from Ascendancy and the 3 base charges, making a total of 7 power charges without any investment in gear. You can corrupt your helmet for another charge, which will scale all critical chance, critical multiplier, damage, and mana recovery. Kinetic Blast is our attack of choice simply because of its overlapping AoE. Also, because you can miss enemies and still proc explosions, these will hit foes, do critical hits, and cast Dark Pact nevertheless. It also benefits best from chain support, which we will need for our Dark Pact damage. You should play this build if you like tons of big explosions, you like auto-summoning minions from a safe distance, and you like doing this with the click of a single button. You should also play this build if you like completing T15 maps with less than 4k life, you want to cast on critical build that's not a cyclone, and you want to go fast, and I mean really fast. To clearly explain how this build works, I will break down its core concepts, which include how Dark Pact, the Poet's Pen, Cast on Critical, and Spellslinger all work. To put it plainly, by its own, Dark Pact is a clunky spell that requires pre-summoning skeletons or sacrificing your own life to cast. This is intended, however, and is the overall drawback for such immense power that is provided by this spell. It's a chaos skill, and once cast, goes through a series of checks and changes behavior depending on these checks, which are as follows. Are there any skeletons nearby? Yes, cast on skeletons. No, cast on player. How much life does the player have? 1 life, does nothing special. More than 1 life, it removes 8% of the player's maximum life, deals that much as extra damage, and adds 77% more damage multiplier. Do you have only 1 skeleton? Yes, it removes 8% of skeleton maximum life and deals that much as extra damage. No, I have more. It removes 8% of skeleton maximum life, deals that much as extra damage, and chains 2 additional 2 skeletons and does the same thing. You can already see the different ways this single spell can be built, but for this guide we only cast Dark Pact on skeletons. We will use a chain support gem to increase the chain target by 2 more. So each cast makes Dark Pact proc 5 times, effectively gaining 400% more damage multiplier. Then we can invest in minion life to increase the damage output of every single Dark Pact. To avoid a clunky build, we will automate both the casting of skeletons and the cast of Dark Pact, which will take us to the actual mechanics of the build and how this all works. You can use an attack skill and link that with a cast on critical strike support and link them with a spell. Once this is done, you can use your attack skill, and every time your attack performs a critical hit, you will proc the linked spell. So if you do more than 1 critical per second, you proc your spell more than once per second, making your attack speed and critical chance an effective way to increase your spell damage. The default cooldown on cast on critical is 0.15 seconds, allowing effectively for 6.06 procs per second. In order to achieve this, we need to increase accuracy to gain 100% hit chance, so every attack hits and therefore has a chance to crit. Then after accuracy, we need to increase critical strike chance and attack speed to proc as close to possible to 6 times per second for a maximum damage. Our attack, Kinetic Blast, has 2 damage components, initial projectile and explosions with a delay. So even if we don't hit 6 attacks per second, we can still deal critical hits from combining primary and secondary hits. This is more likely to happen with a chain support gem, because a single attack can hit up to 5 targets and do 4 explosions 5 additional times. You can now see just how many hits we emit with 1 attack to make this work. In a best case scenario, you can proc Dark Pact 30 times per second, 6 procs times 5 chains. And in the worst case, you will never overlap critical strikes from the same attack. The following is how you calculate your rough DPS. In reality, you do an average between maximum hits and minimum hits. Please note that our cast on critical damage is only one portion of this build's total damage. Your other sources combined will do almost the same damage as our cast on critical setup. So for example, if your average hit reaches 50k and you hit 25 times, you'll gain a total damage of 1.25 million cast on critical DPS. You'll end up doing roughly double that number when you combine every other source of damage with this build. The Poet's Pen is even more simple than cast on critical. You attack once with the Poet's Pen wand, and the gems socketed in this particular wand proc. It alternates between spells in your main hand and offhand. So we put skeletons in one wand and another Dark Pact in the other. This will keep summoning skeletons and proc an additional 3 Dark Pact spells at half our attack speed. Note this doesn't need our attacks to hit or critically hit. You just attack in any direction or empty space and your spell socket in your wands will proc. This has a 0.15 second cooldown or an effective 6.06 procs per second. Spellslinger reserves mana to proc linked spells every time you attack, with a 0.429 second cooldown or an effective 2.33 procs per second. Be aware that going over this attack rate can make some of your spells miss the cast, because every second attack you will find spells on cooldown, so it doesn't proc but instead waits until the third attack. Therefore, if you plan to go over 2.33 attacks per second, try to reach almost double that number to not lose damage from the missed proc. The following are a good combination of links and gems that make the build function for each skill you'll be using. I've organized them by skill so that you can see the progression you might take with each in order to achieve an optimal setup. Early levels before level 33. You can level using any chaos spell you prefer, however I prefer using Duel the Poet's Pen's wands from the start for consistency. You'll be using both attacks and spell setups. You can alternate between attacking with Kinetic Bolt and Frenzy to keep both power and frenzy charges up. Then we proc all chaos spells we can fit into our sockets. Later levels Act 4 and onward. From here our build will start to take shape and our skills will start to look more like the endgame version of the build. We can now replace Kinetic Bolt with Kinetic Blast, which has better clearing and proccing potential. We can now put 3 Dark Pact spells in our setup. It's highly recommended that you get 6 linked body armor as soon as possible to fit all these gems, but if you don't have this yet, you can start with 5 links. You can also add as many links to Spellslinger as much as your mana can handle. In this section, we'll take a look at where you need to place points into your skill tree to make this build function, as well as in what order works best for maximum efficiency. Let's begin with where to place your first 40 points or so. First Labyrinth, 44 points. When placing points, we start from the Shadow area, going through physical and chaos damage small nodes, reaching for Coordination, then go up to Blood Siphon, and then right to Assassination and Cold-Hearted Calculation. Then spend 2 points for Lethal Assault, 4 more points to get Blood Drinker, and go south to grab Acrobatic and Phase Acrobatic Keystones. From Cold-Hearted Calculation, take 3 Intelligence nodes towards the Arcane Expanse Wheel, spending another 3 points to get there. Spend 4 more points towards Wordslinger Wheel and take it. That's a total of 44 points spent. Second Labyrinth, 78 points. After placing your initial 44 points, you'll travel a lot and go all the way towards the Templar starting area. By now we have many Dark Pact procs, so we'll take most of the percentage minion life nodes available to increase its damage. Take 1 point left, then go down for the Lord of the Dead, Minion Life, and Deep Wisdom. Afterwards go left through Hardened Soul and Arcanist Dominion. Then continue towards Retribution, Discipline, and Training, and then stop here. From the Intelligence point before Retribution, we go up and left through Minion Life and Minion Attack Speed nodes, making sure to get Sacrifice and Spiritual Command. This will make it so Minion Attack Speed affects your attacks as well, which is perfect. Keep going past the Dexterity small node and get the entire wheel around Purity of Flesh. Go down 2 points to reach the next minion wheel and the shortest way towards Righteous Army and then Spiritual Aid. All minion damage sources increase your own damage, and you get some accuracy, minion life, and life regeneration on the way. That sums up our second phase with a total of 78 points. Third Labyrinth, 99 points. From here you'll need to build up some life and maximum power charges. To get life, you'll want to take the following: Written in Blood, Cruel Preparation, Devotion, and Quick Recovery. You can refund Quick Recovery later and get the Jewel Socket, but for now, take it. For power charges, you want to take Overcharge, Instability, and Infused for merely 6 points. Also get spell damage per power charge next to Instability. This should put you at 99 points. Final Labyrinth, level 90 with 113 points. As we reach maps, we need to push our critical strike chance and critical strike multiplier as much as possible. For maximum Dark Pact cast per second, we need something close to 100% critical chance on Kinetic Blast, which is an attack. That's why we look for generic critical strike chance before spell critical strike chance. The best way we can get some generic critical strike chance is to use the Discipline of the Forbidden Wheel, which grants us 56% critical strike chance, 35% critical strike multiplier, 56% mana regeneration, and 56% increased damage with a mere 7 power charges. We already gained this from the passive tree and Ascendancy. If we push gear for more maximum power charges, then we'll get even more generic stats from these passive nodes, which is very, very good. To get Discipline of the Forbidden, you have to do the following. Place 4 points on the outer path between Cruel Preparation and Arcane Potency, connecting them. Refund Quick Recovery Wheel. Refund 4 points between Anarchist Dominion and Sacrifice Wheel. Add Discipline of the Forbidden's entire arm of the wheel, an additional 4 points. After that, you'll get more critical modifier from the Heartseeker Wheel, Arcane Potency Wheel, and Throatseeker Wheel. Once you have a good clear speed, you can either refund Arcane Expanse or shave one of these critical wheels to get No Witnesses for more movement speed and dodge chance. If you're not keen on maxing critical strike chance, you can anoint Heartseeker from Cassia and refund the rest of the wheel, and then use these points to get Prodigal Perfection for nice spell damage and a maximum mana increase. This way you get more damage and unreserved mana, which can be used to put more links into your Dark Pact Spellslinger setup. If you need exact specifics and the video is not good enough for you, you can copy and import the following link in the offline tool Path of Building to see the entire character build, or open the PoE Planner link for an online character planner. For Ascendancy, I've laid out 2 paths, one that you typically use and one if you're using the Venomous set. For the normal setup, you'll take Unstable Infusion, Mistwalker, Deadly Infusion, and then Opportunistic. If you'll be using the Venomous set, then you'll essentially do the same thing, but swap Opportunistic for Noxious Strike instead. When it comes to Bandits, you'll just kill them all in order to gain the 2 passive skill points. These are needed in order to reach all the nodes in this build. In this section, you'll find some recommendations for weapons, armor, and accessories needed for early leveling. Weapons. If you don't make this build as your first character in League, make sure to get 2 of the Poet's Pen wands before starting. Use them from level 12 and never look back. Armor. Get 6 Link body armor no matter what it is, because Link's remain skills are more important. Use Tabula Rasa, Skin of the Loyal, or any other corrupted body armor with 3 blue and 3 green sockets, and get resistances on it if possible. The typical unique armor pieces that helps any build level up faster are Goldrin Helmet for resistances and Wanderlust Boots for movement speed, mana regeneration, and freeze immunity. The Oscarm unique gloves goes well with Heen-Kora's Sight, as it turns the additional accuracy into much needed critical chance. Dodre's Tenure Gloves gives huge spell damage buff but penalizes cast speed. However, we don't cast spells, we proc them, so there is no downside here. If you can get Maligaro's Virtuosity Gloves for early leveling, it can be a good contender up until your critical strike multiplier goes over 300% in endgame. Accessories. Heen-Kora's Sight Amulet can solve all your accuracy problems right up until endgame and give some nice dodge chance as well. An alternative amulet you could use is that Ziri's Foible to solve mana problems and allows you to reserve a higher level of precision buff early on. The best way to regenerate life and mana is using the Thief's Torment Ring, which takes 2 ring slots, and if you're like me and use unique items in every slot while leveling this build, your resistances will be lacking. I solved this by using String of Servitude Belt with plus percentage to all elemental resistances. In this section you'll find some recommendations for weapons, armor, and accessories that will be required for endgame content. Weapons. Again, you want 2 of the Poet's Pens. Keep using the ones you've leveled up until you can get corrupted ones with 14 to 18% increased critical strike chance. This is the best single modifier to get your critical strike chance higher. Don't worry about buying the right socket colors with the corrupted wands. You can change socket colors with the crafting bench even on corrupted items. Armor. Crafted body armor is best suited for this build. Try fossil crafting on level plus 84 Shaper influenced body armor and aim to get 2 of the 3 of these modifiers. You can also craft with Deafening Essence of Fear on any level plus 82 body armor. This gives you an easy minions have 27 to 30% increased maximum life modifier, which equals an average of 8 to 10% more damage. Try a few times with a few essences until you get some good life, resistances, and or empty modifiers. You can further improve the armor with a Harvest Craft, like adding critical modifier on Shaper Influenced. And you can benchcraft percentage increase maximum life or percentage chance to dodge spell hits. If you want to use unique body armor, you can use either Cherubim's Malfeasance for good damage and life, or the Carcass Jack. Both are very easy to get the right socket colors in. Skuld's Bridle is cheap and a great DPS boost helmet if you can sustain and recover the physical damage taken with each skill you use. If you want to push your DPS with Skuld's Bridle even further, use 5 Link, Dark Pact on the Hungry Loop, with cast when damage taken, Chain, Concentrated Effect, and Void Manipulation. You can also buy as many Skuld's Bridle helmets as you can for 1 Chaos Orb each. Keep corrupting them until you get +1 maximum power charge. Crafted Elder Helmet is also not a bad choice with 2 of the following modifiers and some resistances and or life. If you place your Spellslinger on a helmet with concentrated effect support, you can use an extra damage support gem like Chain. You can buy any corrupted rare with a +1 maximum power charge modifier and some life and resistances, and it will do the job. The Bone Helmet, for example, is a perfect base for any crafting you want done. Dodre's Malevolence provides the best DPS in the glove slot, but no defense. Oscarm is another option even at this stage, and it's the easiest way to get accuracy and critical chance. Shadows and Dust are also fun gloves that emphasize the super fast clear speed playstyle with Rampage. For better functionality, get any of these unique gloves corrupted with one of the following modifiers. Crafted fingerless silk gloves is another option that you can go with as well, and you want to try to get them with high accuracy rating, resistances, and life. Benchcraft minions deal % increased damage or % increased damage during any flask effect, or alternatively, craft % increased area of effect +1 to level of socketed AoE gems, and place your Spellslinger on your gloves. Crafted two-tone boots work well here with maximum movement speed, life, and resistances, or you can use crafted shaper boots with % increased cooldown recovery speed, or crafted Redeemer boots with both % chance to dodge attack hits and chance to dodge spell hits. The choice is up to you. Accessories. For amulets, you can keep Hinakora's Sight amulet even at endgame. Get one with additional curse corruption, plus % all elemental resistances, or Zealotry has 15 to 20% increased aura effect. Zerfi's Heart is a strong all-around offensive item. Soul Eater will raise your attack speed greatly, and you suddenly can shock, ignite, and chill at the same time. In Presence with Despair Preserve No Mana is the most expensive choice to turn your curse into an aura, but we are tight on links, so it's a tough choice. Finally, Ol's Uprising with Zealotry Aura modifier saves us 50% mana reserved, and it's a sweet addition with some critical chance, life, and attributes. It will allow us to get an additional aura like Vitality, Haste, or put your curses on Spellslinger, all depending on your preferences. On the other hand, a crafted Hunter Amulet with +1 to level of all Chaos skill gems, or +1 to the level of all Intelligence skill gems can be superior. The Thief's Torment Ring is still a good way to recover both life and mana in endgame, which takes 2 ring slots, and you can use 20 times Fertile Catalyst on Thief's Torment to further increase mana and life gained on hit. A more flexible alternative is a couple of Shaper Rings with +13 to 15 life gain for each enemy hit by your spells, and +2 to 3 mana gain for each enemy hit by your spells. The Hungry Loop can be used for another 5-link setup if you have the patience to feed the supports to it. Put Dark Pact on the Hungry Loop with cast when damage taken, Chain, Concentrated Effect, and Void Manipulation. Use Mark of the Shaper on one slot and an Elder Ring on the other for a massive damage buff. Elder Rings can roll life and mana gain for each enemy hit by your attacks, which is less effective than life and mana gained on spell hits but may pass. Elder Rings can also roll % to global critical strike multiplier and or % increased global accuracy rating. Vermilion and Diamond Rings are good bases to craft, but you can also craft 2 Stone Rings for better resistances. Darkness Enthroned with 2 Ghastly Eye Jewels can easily be the highest damage belt. You can get minions have up to 42% increased maximum life, 12% on both jewels multiplied by 1.75. You can get increased attack speed up to 21%. Minions have 4 to 6% increased attack speed on both jewels multiplied by 1.75. And attack speed can be even better if you used minions have 6 to 8% increased attack speed and cast speed if you and your minions have killed recently. Darkness Enthroned with 2 Hypnotic Eye Jewels is another great contender with the following possible suffixes. Pick up whichever 2 suffixes you prefer from these, and round up the jewels with high maximum life roll on both slots. Because of the Harvest Craft, you can get really good Stygian Vise with all resistances in life, and then place 1 good jewel in it and you're set as well. A great source to improve your character is getting enchantments on each of your 3 slots. Helmet. If you use a rare helmet, you can easily get the desired enchantment. However, if you aim to get good corruption, you can skip the helmet enchantment. You're looking for the following. Boots. This one is important to help you gain more damage or overall better defense, so pick one of the following options. Gloves. For gloves, you want to take Commandment of Blades, which is an extra spell proc that chain 4 times between enemies. In this section, we're going to take a look at Flasks, and Quicksilver Flask can be used in early leveling. However, when it comes to endgame, your elusive buff will remove the necessity of this flask. You want the following 5 at endgame. Make sure to get Bleed Immunity and Ignite Immunity from Flask suffixes because all our evasion and dodge doesn't help against damage over time ground effects, in addition to Freeze Chill Immunity. One of the best prefixes you can have on your Flasks is Surgeons, which gives you a chance to gain Flask charges when you deal critical strike damage. You can refill your Flask easily, even on a single target with this build. For your major Pantheon, you'll want Soul of Lunaris, which provides great evasion, dodge, and physical damage reduction. For minor Pantheon, you have 2 options. Soul of Gurakan, so you get movement speed and more evade chance, or Soul of Shikari, so you get almost poison immunity as dodge chance doesn't help against dots. Solo Self-Found SSF is not an option here. This build needs both good currency and very specific unique items to start functioning. On the other hand, Hardcore is very doable. Instead of Spellslinger Dark Pact, you can use Zombies linked with Meat Shield for an additional layer of protection. Use Spellslinger with Summon Holy Relic for more defenses. If you don't have a budget and are willing to spend whatever is necessary to take this build to new heights, you will find the following items a great assistance. Finally, you may still have some questions about this build, which I've taken the liberty to explain that I expect you may have and will hopefully shed some clarity on how this build works. Is Gloomfang good for this build? No, it's very bad. You lose life when both attacks and skills hit an enemy. We hit enemies tens and tens of times per second. If I can't use Gloomfang, how can I get the additional chain? Use the expensive Awakened Chain support, that's your only option. Note that Snake Pit doesn't work because Dark Pact is not a projectile. Why do we not need 100% critical strike chance? Why don't we need 6 attacks per second? Because each Kinetic Blast attack does hit enemies multiple times from projectile, from chaining, from overlapping explosions. It compensates for both slower attacks per second and less critical chance. Also, not all our damage comes from cast on critical, spell socketed in the Poet's Pen, and Spellslinger proc without critical hits. So just get close to 100% critical chance with a Diamond Flask, and close to 4.66 attacks per second with Onslaught. What's the best way to get Frenzy charges? Frenzy Gem on 1 link or 2 link with faster attacks. You'll build 3 charges in less than 1 second, and you only need to refresh it with a single attack every 6 to 7 seconds. Why Kinetic Blast and not Frenzy as main attack? Isn't Frenzy faster? Kinetic Blast's initial attack doesn't even need to hit enemies to trigger explosions. It will always explode and hit enemies upon reaching a maximum distance, or it will hit an obstacle, e.g. walls, and proc the explosion. These explosions can hit multiple times to help us reach maximum procs per second. If you found this build useful and want to check out more of our Path of Exile content, be sure to read or watch our Path of Exile Harvest expansion overview and find out more about the latest update. Or if you're interested in our guides, check out our Ice Crash War Zerker build and Infernal Cold Assassin build.